Oh my God. You don't have to sing prep or something?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Congratulations.
Hey, Cece, look this way. Wait a minute, wherever you are. Excuse me. Okay, we all set? Hey, Bob.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Camera.
Everybody? Wait a minute. Okay, Eloisa. Smile. Okay.
Here's the group.
Okay.
Where are we supposed to? There's a good variety. Most years there is. That's
Very secular, which is camera.
She got me.
Family and friends. That was tough. It was tough. That was tough. Oh.
You guys?
In the house, Gary, in the house.
Gary.
Hey, Nathan.
Is this my seat?
Fortunate to do it, but we said, let's go first class with this limit. How many will we produce those?
El Presidente.
That's what happened.
Hey, Rachel. This way. Okay, good. Hello. There they are. Well, let's get you right at the door here, the Max.
Basketball started already?
Yeah, started 2 weeks ago.
Hey, Vince. Wait, I've already been here. Wait a minute.
Oh, God, he's still taking pictures.
Oh, yeah, all night. Well, no, you said you were coming. Wait a minute, can you turn around a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Congratulations on a great season.
Thank you, Ty. Why are you
Hi, how are you?
Hi. This is like... Oh, Judy.
Okay, let's get the four set. Okay, there, great.
Together?
There you
Yes,
go.
there you go.
There,
There you go.
we're getting everybody, all the celebs.
Is everybody getting shot when they come in?
Not quite.
Oh, I'm not Judy. This is me, that's you.
So,
Yeah, I know. Okay.
This is my date.
Okay.
No.
Get the rest of you here. All right. Here's the transportation guys. All the famous people. Okay, now. Oh, you never have? All right, this is going to be... All right, let's see.
It's just the people you're with.
I'm going around in circles here. Yay, Jesse.
Al, smile.
Okay.
You got it on a tripod.
Yeah, I got this.
Varsity football banquet.
I'm back here for a reason, I think.
Pledge of allegiance to introduce one of our honored guests today. We have Mr. Paul Crowley to my right here, and his wife was unable to attend, but I think you all know Paul. Not the least of which he does is this is his 17th year being our game announcer. Is also on the school board and is a member of the Booster Club and has been for 17 years. 17 years. He's also the historian. Crowley is not able to be here, but as you know, he has been our freshman coach and very successful in the basis in which we build for the varsity. John is retiring this year at a young age, and we wish him the very best. First class job in the freshman team. Also not here, but who contributes immensely to our program is Bill Dietrich. Is Bill here? I believe Bill is. Bill does the physicals for the team and generates and donates all the money associated with those physicals to the Booster Club. And it is the third largest line item in our budget in terms of the revenue side, and it's very helpful. And obviously, he also is the team doctor and stays on the sidelines during the games. I really appreciate Bill's efforts. Obviously, some people that are here is Lauren Kleinrock, our principal. Thank you, Lauren. I'm not going to say anymore. Our athletic director, sophomore football coach, and varsity baseball coach. Mickey? And we're going to get into the coaches, and I hate to tell you how many times she has met my son in the hot tub as he tried to get him in shape for the next day. All right. I'd like to ask Bryce Snyder to please come up. Brad is going to have a few words for us. And then dinner.
All right. I'm here to thank our mothers and fathers and also our fans. As you know, our mothers and fathers were always there supporting us, whatever we did at wherever we go to. They also provided the after-game dinners for all the away games, and it was always good food. Usually it was catered by Burger Continental, and that always was very good after a good win. And they also helped pay for our equipment by joining the booster clubs. They give a little contribution, and that helped pay for some of the stuff that we bought. And another thing about the mothers and fathers, they were very understanding, even when we'd get out from practice very late on Wednesday nights. We'd come home at 10:30 or 11. They were always there and very understanding. Also our fans, they were all of you came to all of our games, obviously, and they were always very supportive. Win or lose, rain or shine, they were always there. And they contributed to a lot of our victories. Thanks a lot.
I'm going to ask one favor. We're going to break for dinner, and then before you're finished, we're going to start up again. I ask if you would, if you'd like the head table go first through the line.
My vision is blurred, so I couldn't see it when you said, is there anything on water?
It's too good. There ain't.
And all of a sudden he's off. Like I've been fasting for 3 weeks.
Waiting for
Yeah, this looks great. Can you break it down?
That's
That's great, huh?
Oh, the small piece?
Yeah. Oh, damn. Yeah, let's talk about football.
Some of the girls usually, the rest of you guys are like...
Spelling. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Lasagna, chicken. Beef stroganoff.
Still waiting.
Rolls.
For lasagna?
I'm up here to talk about your fine sons. But first, I'd like to say a few personal thank yous while I have the opportunity. I'd like to thank, first and foremost, Dr. Godley and the Board of Education. I know that he's not present tonight, but they took an awful big risk on putting me in a classroom with your sons and daughters. And I would really like to thank them to have the opportunity to work in such an outstanding school district. I'd also like to thank Don Banderas, who I know is not with us tonight, but for those of you that may see him, he is primarily responsible for hiring me to San Marino as I joined the staff in the spring of last year as a long-term sub for Mark Udell. And without his initial offering, I would have never been able to have the opportunity to join this outstanding institution. I'd also like to thank Bill and Pat for guidance, tutelage, support, encouragement, and inspiration. I'd also like to thank Lauren, for without their support, none of what I would have done would have been possible. And teachers of the game, for a young coach such as myself, to have the good fortune and opportunity to work for and to work with. I would hope that in my coaching future and coaching career, I can emulate and achieve some inkling of their outstanding ability and hope to build upon the foundation that they've laid for me. I'd also like to thank you, the parents, for supplying us with fine sons and daughters to work with. You may ask why I mentioned daughters. We have an outstanding pet program at San Marino High School, and they're constantly providing support for the football program with signs and rallies and all sorts of goodies that keep my waistline expanding ever so rapidly. And obviously, your sons, who work so hard and work so long for all the hard work and the things that they do for us. And finally, to you guys, the team. As I addressed you on Friday night in the locker room, I don't think I've ever been unselfish, hardworking, dedicated, and inspirational people. I will never, ever forget your attitude, your effort, the things that you did on the practice field and on the game field on Friday nights. Forever and a day, as long as I'm a football coach, I will always remember this team as being one of the gutsiest, hardworking, and determined bunch of kids I've ever been around. And you will forever be an inspiration to me. Those of you that know my father, you know where I get my long-winded ability. But now to the meat of the matter. I spent most of my time this year working with the offense. And believe me, to turn over such an outstanding offensive scheme and such an outstanding football program to such a young and relatively inexperienced coach was a tremendous vote of confidence from Coach Maloney and Coach Dowd, and of course our principal and my tutor, Lauren Kleinrock, who is primarily responsible for instituting and building such an outstanding arsenal of plays. Though most of you might have had second guesses on Saturday mornings with things that went on Friday nights, I can assure you that we practiced to the best of our ability, and without their guidance and support, this would have never happened, and I would also like to thank them again for allowing me the opportunity to do that. First individual I'd like to talk about is Jeremy Place. Jeremy was a junior wide receiver for us who wound up starting the season at Z-back or flanker. Throughout the season, Jeremy was a very hard worker. He wound up running into some injury problems in the third and fourth week of the season, primarily because he made so many gutsy receptions in the Covina and Arcadia game. Jeremy wound up with 17 receptions for 262 yards, a 15.4 yards per catch average, and 2 touchdowns. One of his highlights was a 46-yard touchdown reception against arch rival South Pasadena in the 48-0 waxing of the Tigers. Even though Jeremy wound up not playing much throughout the rest of the season, he was a constant influence on what we did offensively. He was a very hard worker. He substituted in at tight end for us when we needed him. He could play Z-back or X, our split end receiver. We're looking forward to having Jeremy back for another year, looking for more good things from Jeremy Place. From now on, guys, why don't you come up here and I'll do the sweaty palm check right up here and then you can go see Coach. The next young man I have the pleasure of talking about is Carlos Jackson. Carlos was one of our tailbacks this year, and if you saw him get in there, he might not have been the biggest kid on the field, but then again, you can probably say that about most of our guys. But boy, when Carlos got in and got his opportunities, he made things happen with the football. Carlos, when he had the opportunity to play, carried the ball 46 times for 191 yards, a 4.2 average. He had a long run of 18 yards. Carlos was a constant influence, working hard for the scout team, which is the team that helps prepare the defense. He was always ready and willing to go whenever called upon to substitute in there for other guys on Friday nights. We're looking forward to good things from Carlos Jackson next year. Now the guys I won't have the good fortune of working with anymore, but who were instrumental in our successes this year. Probably one guy that would have made a great impact on what we did offensively, who probably feels worse than anybody else sitting in here tonight, but can hold his chin high for his performance on Friday night versus Norte Vista is Koji Kuroki. Koji was going to be guest. Koji did a tremendous job all summer long working with us in our passing league and in the weight room, and he was a guy that we were counting on to be one of our stars in the backfield going into fall camp. But unfortunately, he suffered a late summer knee injury that was slow in being diagnosed. He actually wound up having arthroscopic surgery to remove cartilage, I believe it was. Did a great job rehabilitating his knee. It took him the entire season, but he never quit. He never gave up. It's indicative of the character of this football team. He wound up coming back, being able to help us. You saw him get in there, scored a touchdown in his final game as a senior in high school, was a shot in the arm whenever he got that ball. We're going to miss Koji Kuroki. I mentioned briefly earlier the term scout team. What the scout team does is they run the opposition plays week in and week out. They don't always get the most glory, they don't always get a lot of playing time, but the function and purpose they serve on a football team is fundamental, and it is crucial for the success of the football team as a whole. I know this because I spent a number of my years at USC getting pounded by our defense. And I can tell you the guys that played for us on our scout teams had to face one of the toughest defenses around, as you well know. And Casey Selders did a tremendous job week in and week out for us as a split end, emulating the wide receivers of the teams that we were going to be facing. Casey played a number of positions from flanker to split end. He'd get in the backfield, he'd play tight end. He did whatever he asked of him. And I do believe he got a few opportunities to get out there against South Pass. We're going to miss kids like Casey Selders. Due to Koji's unfortunate injury, Hiro Tando was forced actually into the starting role as tailback. He had sort of a slow start against Covina and Arcadia, but that's because he primarily spent his time working as a defensive back all summer long. He rarely saw action in the offensive backfield. And when Koji wound up being hurt, the job was basically thrown into Hiro's lap, and he did one heck of a job stepping up and meeting the challenge. As the season progressed, I think nobody on our team probably made as great strides as Hiro did, catching the football, running the football. As you guys well know, we run a very sophisticated and intricate offensive scheme. It's very demanding. Not only was he our starting tailback, he also was our starting cornerback. Very difficult assignment, but Hiro Tando was a man and equal to the challenge, and I'm going to miss having him in the backfield. Hiro Tando. Hiro wound up carrying the ball 57 times for 231 yards, a 4.1 average. He got in the end zone once. He caught two exciting two-point conversions against Temple City in the Rio Hondo League championship game, and he had a long run of 24 yards for us. If any of you ever got to come out and see some of our practices, you probably saw one of the most electrifying scout team receivers in the history of organized football. There is probably no individual that made more circus act catches against one of the toughest defenses in the Rio Hondo League than Eric Too. And I can promise you, to Eric's testament, the frustration of Coach Maloney running play over and over and over again because Eric somehow found a way to get open. The quarterback put the ball on him, and he came up with miraculous catch after catch after catch, taking tattooing shots from Nathan Deckard and Mark Montoya, and coming up with incredible catches. He did an outstanding job all year long preparing our defensive backs When Eric got into the ball game, he had 2 receptions for 25 yards. You'll remember his big reception against South Pass for 21 yards, excuse me. Eric is an outstanding individual who's got a tremendous heart and tremendous ability, and we're going to miss him. One of the many pleasant surprises of this year for us, this kid had an outstanding summer. Towards the beginning and towards the end of the summer, he was sort of struggling. We weren't quite sure where we were going to play him. He spent some time at Z-back, and towards the end of the summer, we decided that he would probably help us better as a tight end, and if you'd have looked at the kid, you'd have thought we were nuts. But nobody stepped up. Nobody adjusted, nobody made sacrifices, nobody played harder, and nobody came up with more big-time catches this year than Tucker Sabo. Tucker wound up leading the San Gabriel Valley in receiving. Tuck had 48 receptions for 569 yards. It's a 12.3 average. Scored 4 touchdowns, had a long reception of 33 yards. Tuck also got in the game at quarterback for us when Danny was sitting down. He threw 2 passes, including a 46-yard touchdown pass to Jeremy Clace in the South Pass game. Just an outstanding athlete, an outstanding individual. I just received word that Tucker Sabo has also caught more passes than any tight end in the history of the San Marino High School football program. Probably no other individual in the San Gabriel Valley or in Southern California for that matter had more pressure and more expectations upon him as we entered this football season. And I think probably no other player in the San Gabriel Valley or no other player in California for that matter met those pressures and met those expectations and delivered more consistently than Danny Lloyd. I think it's no secret that Dan came into this season as a highly successful quarterback in a high-profile football program. The pressure week in and week out to deliver, the pressure of being put at the forefront of a team and being constantly labeled in the media was a tremendous burden. But the team and Dan handled all the pressure tremendously well throughout the season. Dan wound up passing this season for 2,076 yards, 16 touchdowns. He completed 152 passes. He was just at about 50%. Just the heart and soul. He also rushed for 6 touchdowns. He caught a touchdown pass in the overtime against Belfast. Just consistently, week in and week out, a tremendous leader, the heart and soul, the kind of kid that you get into coaching high school sports for. Whoever gets this kid, whatever program that he winds up attending in college, not only are they going to get an outstanding football player, but an outstanding individual, and they're going to be very, very lucky. Good luck to you, Danny Lloyd. That will do it from my end of the deal. I'd like now to introduce Pat Dowd, who was instrumental in coaching our offense and defensive linemen this year. Thank you very much.
Offensive lineman, maybe the most thankless job on a football team, but very, very instrumental. A defensive lineman comes in, breaks in, makes a sack, and everyone sees number 78 or whatever jumping up and down. Great job, you got a sack. Or you stop the ball carrier. A quarterback throws a pass, someone catches it, a running back runs, carries the ball, great job. But the offensive line, is very, very important to, obviously, to the set of the football team. And these guys I'm going to present to you were the heart and soul of our team, which gave Danny time to pass, here with the other running backs, holes to run through, and all those good things. So very, very important job on the football team. Start with the juniors first. First player I want to talk about is Mike Stroud. He's a quick, strong offensive lineman, a very smart, headsy football player. He was a part-time starter for us this year at center. He got injured during the middle of the year with a broken, actually he has 2 broken wrists. He's a kind of kid, though, to his, that played through both injuries. He actually wears a cast all week. And when Friday nights comes, he takes it off and plays football. And that's a great testimony to Mike Stroud. He's also our long snapper on field goals and punting. And you don't really appreciate a long snapper until the snap is bad. And there were many this year, maybe any this year. So great job as our long snapper. We expect Mike to be definitely a starting offensive lineman for us next year. A great player, great kid, Mike Stroud. Next player is Pete Wasetich. Pete also had an injury, also a broken wrist this year. Pete was coming along very well for us. He worked pretty hard in the offseason. He's an outstanding offensive lineman, one of our quicker offensive linemen. Would have got some playing time at guard for us, but again, the injury slowed him down. We feel he has all the tools he needs to be a great player next year. I think with a good summer in the weight room and working hard, he'll be a great player for us next year. And we'll see him, hopefully, think good things about Pete Wasetich. Thank you, Pete. Next junior I want to talk a little bit about is Hunter Forsythe. Hunter is one of our very most athletic, explosive type linemen. Started the year a little bit slow, a little bit raw, but as the year progressed, he turned into a tremendous offensive lineman for us, put a lot on our scout team for us on both sides of the football. He's really came through a lot of growth this year, both on and off the football field. And we feel with some work this year in the offseason, Hunter will be a great player for us next year and years to come. Thanks, Hunter. Alejandro Flan. He was our starter this year at strong tackle. He actually started the year for us at strong guard, but when some injuries came up and some adjustments had to be made, Alejandro said, yeah, Coach, I'll be happy to learn the guard plays. So he's the kind of kid that wherever we needed him, didn't say much. Matter of fact, I know the kid speaks 4 languages, but I never heard him say a word all year, I don't think. in any of his languages. But he's a very hard-working kid, spent the time in the off-season, and as we call him, Big Al, had a great year, opened some big holes for us, great pass blocker. Al, nice job. Now I'll turn to the guys, the seniors who we're going to miss this year. First one a little bit about is Brad Snyders. Unfortunately, Brad took a year off as a junior, and that just hurts players. It just simply does. But Brad worked through that and ended up being a great player for us. He started part of the time at quick guard for us this year. Did a tremendous job. He was probably our quickest offensive lineman, an outstanding pass blocker and a good run blocker, despite maybe being our lightest lineman. Had a great year, great kid to work with. Nice job, Brad. Chris Young. He actually was gone some of the summer in an exchange program. We had kind of a slow start for us this August. Had a lot of playing time last year in. Was a very important part for us this year on special teams. And Mr. Mooney talked a little bit about scout teams. As the year progressed, Chris Young was a huge factor, as Coach Mooney would say, a huge factor for us on our scout team defense especially. He actually played scout team fullback for us, as well as offensive line. He did a great job there for us, besides his special teams play. He's a good football player, was also one of our centers. Whatever we asked him to do, he did a job for us. Very, very good job, Chris. Nice job. Stanford is one of those guys, a couple last year also, that simply decided, next year as a senior, he decided, I guess this last year, I want to be a factor on the football team. And Ryan simply spent the time this summer in the weight room and all the things we asked him to do. And he was really a good player for us on the offensive line. He played quick tackle, and he saw playing time there in almost every game this year. He started several games there for us. Also played a lot of special teams. A kid with a great attitude. Whatever I asked him to do during the line drills, the line part of practice, Ryan would get the job done. A leader. He's a great kid to work with. And Ryan, we're going to miss you, Ryan. Jonathan Watford, a player who was a tight end for us last year, but unfortunately he suffered a very, very serious leg injury playing soccer. And I personally thought that Jonathan never ever play football again. But to his testimony, he worked through that injury and probably didn't have the quickness and agility to play tight end anymore. But we asked Jonathan, can you play tackle? That's not the most glorious spot in the world to play, but he's a sure coach, I'll play some tackle. And he ended up being an outstanding, he's our strong tackle. In other words, he's a guy, if the push comes to shove and it's 4th and 1, we're probably going to run the ball over to get the first down. So he is our strong tackle, and just gave a great job for us all year this year. He actually was our leader. Every week, the linemen, I grade all the line plays, and they actually get a percentage of passing on a given play or failing. He was actually our leader percentage-wise. So in other words, highest of passes on the team. So Jonathan, good job.